4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Planning Committee on Thursday the 11th of July. My name is Councillor Gary Marsh. I'm the Chairman. To my left is my Vice Chairman, Councillor Mike Kennedy. To my right is Steve Ashdown, the Head of Development Control Management. And to his right is Paul, is our Legal Officer. Paul Weeks, our Legal Officer. To his right is Joe Fisher, who's got the first application. In the two corners are the committee members and all the officers, all the members of the council are here, and you will be on YouTube. So here we go. Right, so item 1, to receive apologies for absence, I've got Councillor Brown. Item 2 is to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. Oh. To agree by general affirmation the public and the exempt minutes of our previous meeting we had on the 13th of June. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Consider any items I would take as urgent business. There is none, so we'll go straight to the substantive part, which is item 5, which is DM 232259, land to the rear of Central House, 25 Paramount Road, Haywards Heath. Joe.
Thank you, Chairman. So planning permission is sought for the erection of an 8-storey building comprising of 38 flats of 21 one-bed and 17 two-bed with associated landscaping, parking, refuse stores at land to the rear of Central House, Perrymount Road, Haywards Heath. So the application site is outlined here in red, comprises of the vehicular access off of Perrymount Road, going to the front and round to the rear of Central House here. The application site is located on the western side of Perrymount Road, and it forms the former car park associated with the existing building Central House, which has been converted from offices to residential. The site is situated within an area characterised by large commercial buildings and residential development. The commercial buildings along Perrymount Road are at varying levels due to the sloping nature of the land, which slopes away to the north. It slopes downwards to the north towards the train station. To the rear of the site, outside of the red line, is a private access road with vehicular parking, tree and vegetation screening beyond, and further to the west here is railway land, where there is a sharp drop between Perrymount Road and the railway tracks. The site is identified as being within the built-up area of Haywards Heath and within a commercial area as set out in the district and Haywards Heath neighbourhood plans. So turning to the block plan, the proposed building would be sited on the former car park associated with Central House. The existing building of Central House itself is not within the application site. The development would consist of an 8-storey building comprising of 38 flats with associated landscaping to the front, side and rear of the building, parking to the front, and refuse stores and cycle stores here. As part of the development, there would be the provision of 12 affordable dwellings. This would be split as 10 affordable rented and 2 first homes. In addition, there would be 8 car parking spaces, including 3 disabled spaces, all which would provide electric vehicle charging points. There would be communal covered and secure bin stores in this location here to the front, and the cycle stores here to provide 28 bikes and 5 e-bike charging points to the north of the building. And soft landscaping around the building as well. So just turning to the history of the site itself, outline planning permission was previously granted for the redevelopment of the whole of the site, including the front building Central House, to include up to 38 flats to the rear of the site in a similar location to what we are considering today. Although it was in outline form, indicative plans were provided on the likely design and scale of the building, and this grey area shows where the 38 flats would be. Members may also recall a recent approval on the site, which was heard at Planning Committee in April last year. Approval was granted for a 6-storey building, shown here, to the rear of the site, and this current application is on a similar footprint to the approval. The principle of the redevelopment for the site for flats with a tall building has been accepted previously These are the elevations of the previous approval, showing the 6-storey building and a 19-metre distance from the rear of Central House here. So the redevelopment of the former car park within this location is appropriate and supported by policy DP26 of the district plan and the government's requirement to optimise development on sites and promote development on previously developed and underutilised land. As the proposed development is within the built-up area of Hayward Heath, the principle of additional windfall housing is acceptable under policy DP6 of the district plan and policy H8 of the neighbourhood plan. So these are some elevations of what is being considered as part of this scheme, showing an 8-storey development. This is the front elevation and this is the rear elevation, which would face towards the railway tracks. So the proposal would form a contemporary designed building with the top floor set in from the main building and finished with a different material. Plans show the building would have a predominantly brick appearance with a top floor recessed from all sides and treated in grey standing seam cladding. To the rear is to be 3 bays of protruding balconies, and the sides of these balconies, as shown on this side elevation here, would be enclosed within the built form. On the side elevations, there would also be secondary windows serving a kitchen area and also windows for bathrooms. There would be a 19-metre back-to-front distance between the existing flats of Central House and the proposed development. The design guide supports site optimisation within principles DG31 and DG32, and the site is identified as being within the coarse grain urban area suitable for site optimisation in the design guide. The Council's urban designer supports the scheme. The design of the building is considered to be of a good quality and meet the design principles of the design guide, and due to the design and proposed materials, it's considered the proposal will not detract from the character of the area or street scene. So just showing some street scene elevations. This is the proposal if it were to be developed. And whilst it is acknowledged the building would be taller than Central House, which lies forward of the application site, and glimpses of the additional height would be seen above it, such a height is considered acceptable in this location due to the design of the building and the change in the levels where the land slopes away from Central House itself down further to the site. To the north here of the application site is 31 to 33 Perrymount Road, where in December members recommended approval for a 9-storey extension to the western elevation together with a 2-storey rooftop extension. So the rooftop extension has already been constructed, but this shows what has been considered at District Planning Committee for 98 dwellings. This has not yet been issued as it is awaiting completion of a legal agreement. The building subject of this application is, as you can see, set slightly lower than this proposed neighbouring extension. However, it would be seen in context with the neighbouring extension once constructed. Due to the rearward position of the building, the relationship with neighbouring tall buildings and the proposed design, the prominence of the building would be minimised. The proposed front elevation provides articulation, which reduces the building's apparent scale with the top floor setback in the building with a different material to minimise its prominence. It's your officer's view the proposal would sit comfortably within the site and the surrounding context. So this is just a section showing the building here, which is proposed in grey in relation to the existing building Central House. The red dotted line for context is what the 2020 outline application scheme was for, and this blue dotted line is what members approved last year. As you can see, it is actually only 1 storey higher than what has been approved previously. So just turning to the floor plans, on the ground and first floor plans hatched in red would be the 10 affordable rented flats. On the second floor, outlined and hatched in blue to these 2 ends would be the 2 first homes, and there's the rest of the flats are proposed up to the 7th floor. The top floor, as you can see, would be inset from the main building itself. So this is the roof plan. So details of sustainable measures proposed are set out in paragraphs 12.74 and 12.75 of the report. This would be a fabric first approach with the use of photovoltaics, and the roof plan shows there's 71 panels to be on the roof, as well as air source heat pumps. In addition, there would be electric vehicle charging points to all parking spaces. It's just some photographs This is the site which is being considered. As you can see, it's an unused car park. This is the rear of Central House and its adjoining neighbouring building. This adjoining neighbouring building is offices. Central House here has all been converted into flats and is occupied. So this is the existing access way to the side of Central House with 31 to 33 Perrymount Road to the side, which has also been converted to flats and is occupied. This is 31 to 33 Perrymount Road. As you can see, that they had a two-storey rooftop extension. This is looking at the neighbouring offices, their car park, and beyond there's further large commercial buildings going back up towards the Broadway. This is a view from the neighbouring offices car park where the building would be, and it would be seen in context with 31 to 33 Perrymount Road. And then just the street scene from Perrymount Road here. This is the existing building. There's some tree screening. This is the view from number 31 to 33 Perrymount Road, where you would see glimpses of the building, but yet again, like I said, seen it in context. And this is a view taken from Bolterow Road, looking from Winkfield Court over towards the Perrymount Road. So you've got 31 to 33 Perrymount Road here, and the rear of Central House here. As you can see, there's distance views. You've got the railway line in between, as well as tree screening. So I've covered a number of the main issues, but in respect of highways, the development would utilise the existing access off of Perrymount Road, where there are to be 8 parking spaces, which will all have EV charging points. There'd also be cycle storage for 33 bikes. Whilst it's acknowledged the amount of car parking falls below the West Sussex parking standards, the site is in a highly sustainable location with a bus stop outside the site and the train station in walking distance. The NPPF is supportive of development in sustainable locations through limiting the need to travel and offering a choice of transport modes to reduce congestion and emissions. The Highways Authority have not objected to the scheme. In terms of the relationship with the existing Central House, as I've already said, this building has been converted to flats with some dwellings facing the site. The proposed building is to be some 19 metres away from the rear elevation of Central House with a rear-to-front relationship. In this instance, such a separation distance in a town centre location is considered to be acceptable, and there would not be a significant detriment in terms of overlooking a loss of privacy between these two buildings. And this 19 metres has already been accepted in the previous approval. 31 to 33 Perrymount Road, which is here to the north, they have converted the building to flats. There are a number of side windows on this building facing the site. There would be a side-to-side relationship between the existing building and the proposed building of some 14 metres. The proposed building would have secondary or bathroom windows on the side elevation, and due to the distances and relationships, it is considered that this would not result in significant detriment to the amenities of future occupiers of this neighbouring building or to the proposed building. In respect of the side extension at 31 to 33 Perrymount Road, which is still pending consideration, the gap would be reduced to a distance of some 5.6 metres to where the proposed building is proposed. But on this proposed side extension, there would be 2 partially obscure glazed windows and side openings to the corners of recessed balconies for the neighbouring site. So such a side-to-side relationship, if permitted, is considered acceptable, as the windows are to be secondary, serving living rooms or living areas and bathrooms. So infrastructure contributions are also set out under paragraph 12.99 of the report. Works on the legal agreement are progressing, and the 12 affordable housing flats required as part of the development would also be secured within the legal agreement. So overall, officers consider that in the context of the district plan, the site allocations DPD and the neighbourhood plan, that the proposed redevelopment of the site complies with the development plan, and there are no material considerations indicating a decision should be made otherwise than in accordance with it. So just to let you know, there is a dual recommendation where officers are recommending permission be approved subject to the completion of the Section 106 and all of the conditions set out in Appendix A. However, if the Section 106 has not been signed by the 11th of October, it is at the discretion of the Assistant Director to consider to refuse it through not completing the Section 106. So that brings my presentation to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. We've got a speaker. I'm going to call Alex Bateman, please. I think we've seen you before. If you come to the public speakers part there, press the right-hand button. The red light should come on. And on that screen in front of me, there'll be a countdown. When it gets to 90 seconds, I'll say, you've got 30 seconds left. Okay? Thank you. When you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors, thank you for allowing me to speak with you this afternoon on what's a quite busy schedule. I do want to start by thanking your officers for working with us. It has been a pleasure since the application was submitted in August 2023, that the scheme's actually improved by having that engagement with your officers, so I do want to pass on my thanks. The proposal before you represents an update to a scheme approved in August 23 for a 6-storey building comprising of 28 flats. Despite the scheme now representing 8 stories with some clever design tweaks, the increase in height against this approval represents only 3 metres. Furthermore, it is 3.8 metres lower than an approval from March 21 when a 9-storey building was approved. Furthermore, in height, a scheme on the adjacent site was signed off by a planning committee in December for a 9-storey building, which would be 1.8 metres higher than the scheme before you today. Therefore, when considering the history, the proposed height is fully compliant with the prevailing character and allowed parameters in the recent months, especially given the encouragement in local policy to increase densities in town centres. As confirmed by your officers, the site is situated within an area characterised by large commercial buildings and residential development, which is why a building of the proposed scale is considered appropriate. As set out in the officer's report, the site falls within the built-up area of Haywards Heath, a Category 1 settlement where the principle of this type of development is considered acceptable. The scheme results in no objections from statutory consultees, including urban design, highways, housing team and town council, subject to the provision of affordable housing. I'm pleased to confirm that the scheme would deliver a total of 38 flats, with 12 of these being affordable, 10 for social rent and 2 as first homes, as required by your local policies and at the request of your housing team. As confirmed by your officers, the site is close to Haywards Heath Town Centre, as well as bus stops and the Haywards Heath train station, which makes the site very sustainable in terms of accessing a wide range of facilities. I therefore endorse the planning officer's recommendation for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, before we start, Councillor Sane, unfortunately, because you were a bit late coming in, we had started the presentation. You can sit there, I'm not going to ask you to leave, but you can't take part in the debate and you can't take part in any voting on this particular item. That's okay. That's not your fault. Right, any member? Councillor DePauw, can you press your...
Sorry, I forgot.
It's only a month ago.
There we go. Sorry, boss. Oh, Joe. Do you mind if I ask a question, officers? It's not meant to be flippant. With a development like this, what is done about the rubbish? Do they all have individual, and do they have to be stored somewhere or what? It's not a flippant question, and it'll be very helpful to me.
Thank you. That's the wrong one. So as shown here on the site plan, there would be a communal bin store. So residents would take their rubbish to the communal bin stores, and then they would be collected by the wastes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And if you saw on one of the map, the tracking of the refuse lorry going in and out. All right, anybody else? Oh, you don't have to stick your hand up, we're not a town council.
I'm sorry, Chairman, I can't get any response from my instrument in front. That's why I raised my hand.
Okay, Ben, could you do that? And in the meantime, Councillor Hitchcock, do you want to?
Yeah, just a quick question. I think Joanne will probably be able to answer this. How many car parking spaces did we approve in 22?
For the 28 flats, it was 6 car parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's because we've had lots of these now, and because it's the town centre and we've got parking, MSDC car parks all around the area, and that's the way it's moved on to. Councillor Henwood, don't touch it.
I've got several questions,
Go on then.
Chairman. First of all, what happened between when the urban designer said that the concept did not accord with policy 26 to where the second amended, he's now said it does. I wondered what transpired to make the urban designer change his mind.
I should imagine he worked with the officer.
Well, perhaps the officer would like to explain. I'm just curious.
Yeah, go on. Well,
you.
give the other questions as well.
Well, they're on different pages.
All right, doesn't matter.
All right. Okay, that's on number 63. Then I've got a question about why affordable rents, this is on page 65, why affordable rent flats will need to be located on separate floors to the other rental units or have separate access. I don't understand that policy. Okay, it's on page 65 on my iPad. Okay, then I got two more questions. It's under 65.
Yeah, please carry on.
Okay, next two questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. On page 72, it says noise, discussing noise. It says the windows somehow have to be closed because the noise element might be too much, but there will be mechanical ventilation. I was just curious about what's mechanical ventilation. Is that air conditioning or what?
Something similar, I should imagine.
Yeah, well, that's not really very
I'm not saying
high.
it is.
Okay,
The
but,
officer will answer that.
yeah, but we're talking about sustainability, aren't we? And in a discussion about sustainability, if they're already proposing that they're going to be using electrical mechanisms, that's a query about sustainability. And then there's another one about the use of ultra-low nitrogen oxide boilers. Well, I thought that was going to be phased out. So how can we be supporting a scheme that's going to be using?
There's phased out and there's stopped.
And then I've got a question about sustainability, and we've asked this before, Chairman, about grey water recycling, that this, as an informative, this should be put forward. These are going to be apartments. So I would like to see informatives where, say, the council promote grey water recycling.
Okay, I can answer that last one,
Okay,
because this one came under the original district plan, and we've only submitted on Monday Regulation 19 for the new one. So therefore, it will be anything, once we've adopted, we'll have to do grey water.
but
I know it's
Chairman-
an aspiration,
and
but
Chairman,
an aspiration is only an aspiration.
Chairman, I'm just saying to put it as an informative, to say that we would wish that this were done. That's all we're saying, we
Just-
would
just
wish.
Subjunctive.
Subjunctive.
Let the officer answer those questions, because some of them are pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So the urban designer's comments in detail are on pages 63 and 64 of the Appendix B. I can't remember the full details of exactly all of the issues on why she had large concerns about, it was more about the scale and the massing from the rear. And so they made some amendments to the proposal, and then she was made aware of the scheme, because this was coming in at the same time originally of the 31 to 33 Perrymount Road, so she was made aware of that scheme as well, so that she was aware that the massing was going to be quite similar, and the agent provided a street scene views, which we've shown on the PowerPoint presentation, and also an image from Boltrow Road looking back in relation to the neighbours. And so then she was happy and satisfied that it accorded to DP26. The affordable rents that you refer to on page 65, that's the housing officers' detailed comments within the appendices. They are unfortunately on separate floors within flatted developments because it's down to management and maintenance. So they can't easily be pepper potted within one whole building compared to if it were a separate dwelling and standalone. So it is easier for them to all be on one floor. In relation to the noise and the closed mechanical ventilation, condition 6 on page 48 requires further details of alternative means of ventilation with sufficient capacity to ensure the thermal comfort and control of overheating. But the scheme will have air source heat pumps as well. You said about boilers. The scheme, like I said, is having photovoltaics and air source heat pumps. But if there were to be boilers, I think due to the timings of it all, like Councillor Marsh has said, it hasn't been wholly phased out.
And the grey water,
The grey water, I'm happy to put an informative on, but like Councillor Marsh said, obviously it's being considered under the current district plan as well, so there isn't a requirement for it.
Thank you, Chairman,
do you wanna come
especially
back?
about, but it is not clear to me at all about this situation where it says that rented flats need to be located around a separate entrance or on a separate floor. I don't understand. Is this a normal policy or what? Could somebody
Mr
clarify that?
Ashdown's going to answer that one.
Thank you.
I think it's around particularly service charges, particularly in flatted blocks, where you may have a different level of service charge relating to the private and affordable elements. So therefore, that's why they're like, if possible, to have them on separate cores, because then that allows that separation. Because clearly, in terms of affordable rents, they're managed by a housing association, and that they might have separate or even reduced charges over what the private flats may charge for it.
So, Chairman, have we ever come across this before? The situation in apartments?
I'm trying to go back 21 years. We do encourage pepper potting, but they tend to be
course.
over an estate. But this, I think,
Genuinely, generally speaking, in terms of the majority of housing developments, you will have a single block of rented flats. It all depends on the number of units that are being proposed, and obviously the number of affordable units being requested. But there have been occasions where this situation has arisen.
Okay.
And it's, as I say, these are comments that are coming from our housing officer, and ultimately, in terms of the scheme that's before you, she's now satisfied that in terms of the location of the affordable units, they comply with our policy, and she's content with them.
there is one in Burgess Hill, I just remembered, the McCarthy and Stone development.
McCarthy and Stone,
Right.
okay?
You've got one whole development is just purely affordable housing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The-
and so, but
Yeah.
we've only got one building, and they get
Okay.
3.
That's okay, I just found it interesting.
Well, if the housing officer, if she didn't, she would have screwed Blue Murder, and we wouldn't be here with it, but she's happy with it, so
Okay, thank
we
you,
are
thank you,
that. Now,
Chairman.
does anybody else wish to? No, right. I think you're going to propose this one?
Yeah, I was a bit concerned when I first looked.
Could you press the?
Sorry.
Speaking.
Okay. Is that working?
Yeah, you are.
Good. Yeah, I was a bit concerned about this when I first looked at it because I thought that the building is quite tall, but in fact it's not, as we've heard, so tall as the next door premises. It's within the district plan. It's certainly an improvement, I think, on the earlier proposals that have been approved by this committee. And it's within the district plan. And following on from that, the recommendation is that it significantly favours the planning balance on this one. So I'm happy to propose it.
And also, Councillor Basher, are you going to second that? Yep. I think also members should take into consideration as well, we've actually got another 10 windfall units to our district plan numbers. So it's, and obviously as a consequence, you get more affordable housing. So
Yeah.
it's a win. So we've got two, I'll try and find it, yeah, 2 recommendations. Recommendation A is that planning permission be approved subject to the completion of a satisfactory Section 106 legal agreement to secure infrastructure contributions and affordable housing, and the conditions set out in Appendix A, and recommendation B, well, basically, I won't read it all out, but suffice to say, we've all got to be signed by the 11th of October. That's the normal one we would do. So, and normally, so can I ask for votes? Green if you agree with it, red if you don't, and yellow if you want to abstain. Right, I've got everybody in, and that's a unanimous decision. That's been approved. Please build it now. Right, we've just got a slight delay while we swap planning officers. I'm going to, can you just temporarily kill the... Right, our next one is item 6, which is up in East Grinstead. It's DM 232608 38 London Road, East Grinstead. Rachel, this one's yours.
Thank you very much,
And I
Chair.
think there is something on the update sheet as well.
Thank you. So members should refer to the update sheet and additional information in relation to the bin storage and omission of condition 13, which relates to ecology. The applicant has submitted floor plans and refuse route plan to illustrate a revised number of bins and a reduction in their size for domestic waste, recycling and food waste. And this follows discussion with the Council's contract waste monitoring officer. Condition 13 was recommended by the Council's ecology consultants. However, it is not necessary nor relevant to this application because the application was validated prior to biodiversity net gain becoming mandatory. Also, the scheme does include proposals for a green roof and will provide 100% net gain in biodiversity. Therefore, there's no need to request details for the long-term implementation management of a landscape and ecological management plan as per biodiversity net gain requirements. Okay, turning to slide 1, 38 London Road, East Grinstead, West Sussex, and it's for the partial conversion of ground floor and first floor and upwards extension to the existing building to provide 14 apartments. Slide 2 is the site plan, and this illustrates the location of the application site as highlighted in red. It lies to the western side of London Road and is within the primary shopping centre of East Grinstead town, as designated in the district plan. Queen's Walk pedestrianised shopping area lies to the south and Queen's Road to the north, which accesses the rear of the site. There is a public car park to the west. London Road slopes downhill in a northerly direction and existing buildings are generally 2 and 3 storeys in height where they front onto London Road. This slide shows the elevations that are proposed, the front and rear elevations of the proposed development within the street scene. It shows a new shop frontage at ground level, just here, and the proposed second and third floor. This is existing, and this is second and third floor. The third floor is set back from the frontage by 7 metres. The drawings show decorative brickwork on the front elevation to match existing and aluminium heritage green windows and doors as agreed with the urban designer. The existing access to the shop is retained, which is here, as is the access serving the residential proposed above. Together with the proposed window details, the rear elevation shows the doors at ground level accessing the refuse and emergency exit areas. This slide shows a section through the depth of the site from front to back. London Road here, this is the front elevation here. It also shows the line of sight for the pedestrian when viewed from London Road. This slide shows the south flank elevation and section through the proposed development. Slide 6 shows the proposed floor plans for the ground, first and second floors. The ground floor plan shows the commercial area to be retained in a Class E use, as well as access via London Road for the residential units above. Here. And it shows cycle storage here and the proposed bin storage to the rear. That's for the domestic, for the residential, and that's for the commercial to the rear. 5 units are proposed at first floor and 5 units at second floor. Slide 7, this shows the proposed layouts of the third floor and the roof. The third floor shows provision for 4 units. The roof is a green roof and proposes the installation of solar panels here and here. Slide 8, this slide shows the refuse route plan, illustrating where the commercial and domestic waste bins will be stored at the rear of the building. Domestic, commercial. The bins will be moved along the hallway, indicated by the red line, to the front of the premises and London Road. This slide shows the proposed CGIs of the street scene views. You can see this is the application site building here. This is the new shop front window. This is the existing building here, this element at first floor. And this is proposed with the sections further back at third floor, sorry. And again here within the street scene. And these are some photographs that I took of the street scene as existing. The application site here and on the opposite side of the road, just to give you the context and shows the character of existing buildings within the locality. This slide shows views from inside, taken from inside the building, looking towards the rear and the south side of the building. The first floor rear elevation, which is here, and the north side elevation here. The first and second floor windows facing the site from the south, here, are toilets serving offices. And these are some photographs at the rear of the site, and the development would be approximately in here. From Queen's Road, this was taken, and it's basically showing the scale of existing development on Queen's Walk. And these photos are the pedestrianised shopping area on Queen's Walk, and the development is beyond here, some units further down, so it wouldn't be visible. You can see, if you know, well, you will know the area, but this is Pound Stretcher here, just to give you some context. So, and the character of the area as well. So there are two recommendations, Recommendation A and Recommendation B. Recommendation A is that planning permission be granted subject to the completion of a Section 106 legal agreement to secure infrastructure contributions, including a review formula, relevant build costs and gross development value to assess market value and affordable housing viability at the time of build, and the conditions set out in Appendix A. Recommendation B is that the applicants have not signed a planning obligation securing the necessary infrastructure contributions by the 11th of September. And then if it was the case, then permission would be refused at the discretion of the divisional lead for planning and economy for the following reason, and the application would fail to comply with the relevant policies DP 20 and 31 of the Mid-Sussex District Plan in respect of the provision of infrastructure required to serve the development. The main issues for consideration are set out in the officer's report, and members will be well aware legislation requires the application to be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material circumstances indicate otherwise. It is considered that the application is in accordance with the development plan and that this is the proper starting point for decision making. However, the council also must have regard to other material considerations, including the National Planning Policy Framework, in determining this planning application. The principle of the development is acceptable. Windfall housing, which is for sites not specifically identified in the development plan, is acceptable under policy DP6 of the district plan. Site optimisation and mixed use and intensification in the town centre is acceptable where it responds to adjacent areas. The design guide defines the density of this location as fine grain adjacent to coarse grain, meaning modest to incremental, moving towards potential for change in an east to west direction, which is front to back, and this is reflected in the scale and design of the proposal. The neighbourhood plan makes reference to the adjacent delivery of major housing at the adjacent site in Queen's Walk between Queensway and London Road. The NPPF supports the development of windfall sites and gives great weight to the benefits of using suitable sites within existing settlements for homes. Substantial weight is given to the value of using suitable brownfield land within settlements for homes. The application site is located within Category 1 settlement as defined within Policy DP6, which has a comprehensive range of services and facilities and benefits from good public transport provision. There is a bus stop immediately outside the front of the site. DP2 supports the regeneration and renewal, including the environmental enhancement of the town centre. Retention of the Class E use at ground level positively contributes to the vitality and viability of the town centre. The proposed development is therefore acceptable in principle. The application has been the subject of pre-application discussions and negotiation with the Council's urban designer, which has continued during the course of the planning application. Amendments to the scheme have been sought and there is no objection to the latest drawings. There will be no significant harm to residential amenity in respect of adjoining neighbours or future occupiers. There are no objections raised in relation to contamination or noise, drainage matters, ecology or highway issues. As such, these points are neutral in the planning balance. Amended drawings have been sought to revise the number and capacity of domestic bins provided. The Council's Waste Contracts Monitoring Officer has no objection. This is a windfall development which will have no harmful impact on the Ashdown Forest in terms of pollution. SANG and SAM will be secured through the Section 106 agreement as mitigation to protect the forest against recreational disturbance. This is also neutral in the balance. In terms of affordable housing, this is negative in the balance due to the lack of provision of affordable housing. However, there is clear evidence that demonstrates to the Council's satisfaction that the site cannot support the required affordable housing from a viability and deliverability perspective. However, a review clause will be added to the Section 106 to reassess the viability of the site at or nearer the time of commencement. In this respect, the application complies with the Council's adopted policies. In terms of Section 106 financial contributions and as set out in the committee report, these will include West Sussex County Council Education Primary, £11,302, Education Secondary, £12,163, Education Sixth Form, £2,849, Libraries, £4,249, Total Access Demand, £18,471. And for Mid Sussex District Council, Formal sport, 8,595, and this will go towards Mount Noddy Recreation Ground improvements. Children's play space, £7,505 will go towards the orchard and kickabout provision for the Orchards or Brooklands Park. These are the nearest locally equipped play areas to the development site. Community buildings, 7,363, and this will go towards the Meridian Hall or Glenview. Local community infrastructure is £8,356 to be spent on St Margaret's Loop cycling and walking route, with monies contributing towards lighting and CCTV. An appropriate scale of salmon mitigation for the proposed development is £16,380, and if approved, scheme provides for a strategic SAM contribution, and this will be £73,542. These factors all weigh positively in the planning balance, and it should be given significant weight. The site is situated in a highly sustainable location in the primary shopping area of the town centre, and also seeks to minimise energy use through the installation of roof-mounted PV panels and/or a green roof, or the provision of air source heat pumps. It will be providing 14 new homes which will assist with meeting the council's housing requirements. Therefore, taking all the points into consideration, there are compelling reasons to approve this application. The scheme is considered acceptable and is compliant with policy criteria of the adopted development plan. It is recommended that permission be granted, and that brings my presentation to an end, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. We do have a speaker. Can I call Matt Richards, who's in support of this? If you come to the public speaking area there. As soon as you start to speak, the clock on the screen will appear, and go from there.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Matt Richards. I'm the applicant's agent, and I'd like to thank officers for their recommendation and their proactive engagement through the process. The proposal would add 14 residential units and make a positive contribution to the district's housing requirement as a windfill site at this highly sustainable location, being within the town centre with excellent transport access and access to numerous services and facilities. With regards to scale, the proposed building rises to 4 storeys, with the 4th storey well set back from London Road and barely perceptible from the street. The design has had full regard to the character of London Road and includes design details to add visual interest. The scheme provides a good mix of 1, 2 and 3 bed dwellings that all meet national space standards. As attested to by your officers, no harmful impacts result to any neighbouring properties. There are no technical objections pertaining to the application on matters such as highways, flooding and drainage, noise, and the refuse and servicing strategy. With regards to the servicing and refuse strategy, this will comprise the highly managed operation with a caretaker employed to take the bins from the internal refuse stores to the front on collection day. Following collection, they will be taken back to the internal refuse stores. In terms of affordable housing, it's been concluded by the councillor's assessor that the scheme can't sustain an affordable contribution at this time. However, the applicant has agreed to enter into a late review mechanism where it will be reassessed at a later date. The proposals also include for renewable energy sources, green roofs which will enhance biodiversity on site and also reduce water runoff rates compared with existing. In summary, this application would make a valuable contribution to the district's housing supply at an underutilised brownfield town centre site, and a number of planning benefits would result, including the provision of much-needed windfall housing, 100% biodiversity net gain, and a low-carbon scheme. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow. I'm going to go to the ward councillor, Councillor DeVell, and then the other East Grinstead councillor.
Thank you very much indeed. And thank you, Rachel, for making such a very strong case for this. There are a number of issues with this. First of all, this is an old bank, the Snex Bank. It's a big building. You're planning to, the plan is to have the ground floor as a sales area. And the part that you showed us actually is the back of Boots. So that sort of is the Boots car park area there. So that's one of the first things I wanted to ask. You're talking about the rear of the building. Well, there is no rear as far as I can see it. It's the back of Boots. And the second thing is that they're talking about bringing the rubbish bins one for each flat now, not one of the huge ones apparently, one for each flat, bringing them through to the front of the building each week for disposal. So they're going to be stored in some sort of a bin store on the lower ground floor, I take it. So that's another issue. And they're going to be placed out on the street because this has been proposed. This street is central to our town. It's a delightful area. I know that there are a number of shops that are currently doing that, but this is planned at the moment because I started the plan going when I was on town council to pedestrianise this area for that reason. And at the moment, it is being considered by county council for being pedestrianised with the help of the East Grinstead East Grinstead Business Association, do forgive me. So it is being considered at the moment. So quite what it will look like with bins being stuck out there. At the moment, they're talking about a shared space and things like that. So the issues that I have are actually, smaller bins being taken through from where? At the back of the building, because that part of the building, as far as I can see, belongs to Boots. And how will people escape from that building if they're actually stuck within that part of the building just there? And then the plan is to put these bins out on a delightful area of our town, which is planning to be pedestrianised for the use of people more generally to make use of this delightful area of our town. So a lot to talk, to come back on there, Rachel. I look forward to your response. Thank you.
Rachel, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So to start with, as you can see from the site plan, the application site is highlighted in red. And there is no...
Not seen anything. Oh, yeah, we are now. Yeah.
There is no right of access across the rear car park. So the application site is, as you can see in front of you.
It's just all underneath.
The doors at the rear are for emergency purposes only. So it's an emergency
where will they go, Rachel?
access. So there is, let me just forward onto plan. So there is a side gate at the rear which goes into the car park. As you can see, there's an opening here.
Right.
Okay, so to answer your other questions with regards to
Thank you.
the bins. So as you can see, these are the floor plans, and the one of particular relevance is the ground floor plan. And it shows the internal arrangement and layout, and this is all within the application site boundary. So it shows, these are the commercial bins here, which will serve the commercial area here. And then these bins here, these are the bins to be provided for the residential apartments. And these will be moved by the caretaker through this doorway, down the hallway, along here, and down, out through the front access, the front door. This is a level access onto the street, and they will be positioned in front of the shop front. I'm just going to show you.
I know what it looks like, don't worry.
Oh, I know, but this is going to continue to answer your questions, hopefully.
Sorry.
So at the front, you have the pavement, you've got some cycle stands, you've got a bench, and you've got the bus stop. But the intention is that the bins will be placed in front here for a short period of time. They will have an early collection likely to be before shop opening times. So there won't be a heavy footfall at that particular time. And the caretaker, through a service management plan, will take the bins back in to the rear storage area as shown on the plan.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Sweatman.
Thank you, Chairman. Right, where do I start? Thank you for the presentation, Rachel. as an application as a whole, I have absolutely no issue. And we've all been trained on viability. We have our own people look at the viability and it's checked at 75% of sales already. So no issue with that at all. The biggest issue is, you've guessed it, is the waste. Initially, I don't know whether people that's watching on YouTube that have read the committee papers on the portal, but it's sort of changed now. Originally, there's going to be 2 great big bins that were going to be put outside the shop front, but obviously you couldn't get them through the corridor because it was too narrow. So now it's obviously been, in our update sheet, it's been reduced to 9 360-litre bins. It's gone, no?
There was originally 5 1,100-litre bins, and now there are 9 for refuse and 9 for recycling and 1 for food waste. And the new layout shows that each bin is going to be 360 litres. And this has been requested by the Waste Contracts Monitoring Officer because the size of those bins fits through the hallway.
And through the chair again, if I may carry on. Yeah, because, like I say, initially there was going to be 2 bins, big bins, outside the shop. I realise that's not happening, but now we're going to have 9.
9 smaller bins.
9 smaller bins, out possibly outside the shop front. I'm quite pleased that the... Do you want to stop me there? Because I need to get this...
Bless you, Rachel.
Go on, Rachel.
Thank you, Chair.
How many bins are going to be
Thank you,
outside the
Chair.
shop at any one time?
So in any one collection, there'll be 9 for refuse and 9 for recycling, and then you've got the food waste as well,
I'll
which will
talk
go
about that in a minute.
go out with the refuse. But that's over and above the capacity that needs to be provided. So it's unlikely that 9 are going to go out. It's probably...
Well, whatever.
Yes. So it's going to be probably between 7 and 9 that will go out on pavement.
7 or...
9.
Between 7 and 9.
At any one time.
It's at any one time. That's my point, was trying to get to. Where they're going to go, and I'm quite pleased that we're actually having a commercial premise there, and it's not all going to be units underneath. So who would, when that premise does become occupied, why would they want about 7 to 9 bins outside their shop? And also, I've another issue with, if you go back, can we go back to London Road again, please?
What, photograph or plan?
The
photograph or plan?
No, the photograph. Because, can you go back one, please? Where you can see the bus stop and the bench, there you get people sitting on the bench waiting for the bus, etc. But where the bins are going to go exactly, could cause possible restrictions for mobility scooters. That's the thing, because the pavement does get quite narrow there. The other issue, you've mentioned that it could be collected early in the morning when there's less footfall, but there's no guarantee on that. I would like to say, I know we can't condition it or legal agreement in it, but as soon as the bins are brought out, they're straight in the lorry, into the refuse lorry, gone back in again. My issue is that there's a possibility they could stay out there longer than necessary. I think that's about it for the moment. I may come back if I may, Chairman. Sorry, just one more. Yeah. Obviously, it's mentioned food waste, but there's also electrical recycling that's coming down the line as well. So there's probably going to be even more bins out there, maybe not all at the same time, but...
I think Rachel did mention early collection. If they can negotiate with our waste, it's picked up first. But it does mean you've got to have the cooperation of the janitor to do that. Now, the reason why I said about the food waste, at this point in time, we're still in the trial period. I would be reluctant to see the 19th bin put in there at this point in time for food waste, because people will put it in there and it may never, ever be collected until we adopt a food waste across the whole piece. So I don't know if we can negotiate, well, I know the agency and he's just nodding his head. So when we do food waste, then the bin's put in, because I think that's imperative on that. Because there are a lot of good things on this scheme, a hell of a lot of good things, you know. The green roof, the photovoltaic panels and heat source pumps and the rest of it. So there is a lot of really good stuff, and this is a windfall site. Don't lose sight, it's a windfall site. And we, as Councillor Sweatman said, you know, we have a age-old tested, and it does work. That once we get to 75%, we look at the figures and we hand it over to the assessor, and he says, yes, this can support money for off-site provision. There are a lot of good things, but I think, judging from the one ward member and the other East Grinstead member, I really do think there is some real concern of how we're going to get this waste sorted out. I know it's not necessarily a planning matter, because that is the issue. It's not necessary. It is an obligation by our council to pick up bins, but it does need the janitor to actually do his part of it. And if he's on holiday, God forbid, the people in that thing. So I've got a number of other people wishing to speak. So Councillor Henwood, you were first.
Thank you. I'm a bit confused about the planning statement regarding renewable energy, 12.107. It's not clear. The
What
planning
page,
office, well, it's 12.107, and that is on page 110. And it's not very clear from the planning officer. It says here that they seem to be more interested in the green roof as a trade-off for photovoltaics. Well, I wonder, I don't think that's quite comparable. And it also uses the word bio-solar. Well, sorry, but integrated bio-solar, I don't know what that means. And the diagram you showed, planning officer, did show some photovoltaics, but I'm not too sure. This says there might be a trade-off. And really, a green roof, 10% biodiversity, well, I would think that's poor trade-off for producing electricity.
Those two big grey sites, big blobs.
Yes, Chairman, I know, but I'm looking at what it says in the report. So are we confirmed, therefore, there will be photovoltaics and there'll be a green roof?
What have you got to take in consideration? The 100% BNG gain, because there is nothing there now.
Yeah, but we need renewable energy schemes.
That's what you've got those there.
Yeah, okay.
Go on, Rachel, you're
Yeah.
the expert, it's your...
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say there's also a planning condition for requesting details for the PVs as well.
Okay.
And so there will be renewables, and it is part of the application.
Okay. And so could you explain to me what bio-solar means? Is this a new word we're going to get used to, or what?
Sorry, Chair, I don't know where it's, where does it say that?
Where does it say that?
12.107, it's 12.107.
Oh, biosolar, or similar option to be considered. It's on the
Yeah.
fourth line up from the bottom.
Integrated bio-solar, it's a third from the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
I know it's highly we don't normally allow a speaker. Yeah, can you answer it?
Well, just
You can
using
try.
Google here, but a bio-solar green roof combines solar panels and green roofs.
So it means
Sorry,
combining a
it
green
combines
roof
solar
and
and a green roof, yes.
photovoltaics. That's bio-solar.
Yeah, play on words.
Want
Play
to
on
be familiar
words.
with that term, as it's going to be up.
Oh, I've never heard of that one either myself.
Thank you. But will we
Are
remember?
you satisfied the fact that there is 100% net diversity?
Yeah, because it's concrete now.
Yeah,
That's
so that'll be
what
off-site,
Yeah.
and they're going to plant some green roof, which is, again, an extra gain. we now decided what biosolar is.
Okay, so can we also have this informative, you know, about grey water recycling?
But
Because,
actually, if you looked in the,
what page?
I did see it in a second ago.
Okay,
It does prevent a lot of water draining the.
yeah, but we want to reuse the water, don't we?
We
As
do
in
to
grey
keep the
water.
plants going.
Sorry, Chairman, I do feel, to put an informative, that we would support grey water recycling. We think we have a lot of water now, but we might not in the future.
We've had an awful lot of water. Again, this application came in prior to the Regulation 19, but anything since then, we will have grey water.
But it doesn't preclude us putting in an informative, as we did last time.
Okay, I've spoke to Mr Ashdown, we can
Thank you.
put one in.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cherry.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'd like to say that I fully support actually the points that Councillor Sweatman has said, going back to the refuse. One thing I'm not very clear on is that what's happening to the refuse from the commercial establishments? I don't think you've mentioned that. I mean, are those bins coming out as well on the same day that the residential bins are in the front? I wasn't clear on that.
So I did inquire about that. It's a private collection. It'll be on a separate day, and it's the responsibility of the occupiers of that unit. So they will be coming out along that hallway
How?
to the
So
front.
they'll have to run the same
There's
track.
a how,
On the same.
but that's not
the
part
same
of our
route.
planning application
'Cause
today.
There's no right of access at the rear, so all the bins will be taken along the hallway to the front on London Road.
Right.
That should be fun.
so-
Grease up the walls as you go around the corner.
Yes. So
Are you happy with, I mean,
yeah, well, it's not on the same day, so that's a
but
win,
it's,
isn't it?
we're not,
You know,
we
it's-
as an authority aren't responsible for industrial
No,
collections. That's
No.
BIFA, or whoever they
Yeah.
use to do that.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
was just reassured that it's not all going to be happening on the same day, which would be a nightmare, to be honest.
You're right there.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, Councillor Hitchcock.
Thank you very much.
I quite like the project,
do
first
I.
floor upwards. I think it's pretty good. However, I think, although there are some really, really tight restraints on what you can do downstairs, that long, narrow corridor is a no-no for waste and people. If I was catching the 7 o'clock train from East Grinstead
Yeah,
and I was living in those
floor?
flats and I met the janitor wheeling wheelie bins of mixed waste or food waste or whatever it's going to be, I would wonder why I purchased the flat. So I think there's a big issue there, and I think they need to go away and look at that again.
the owners of the car park behind her is Boots, if I'm led to correct?
Yeah,
The Boots, and they used to allow members of the public to park there, but I
Yeah.
don't think they do that now. It would be advantageous because the rest of the bins get picked up
yes,
in that car park because they've got a
commercial setup.
commercial, agreement with,
So there's no problem with accessing bins in the car park for a waste disposal lorry.
because I've seen bin lorries in there.
So I think there ought to be a negotiation.
Yeah, but that's not what we've got in front of us, unfortunately.
No,
and-
I
and
know
that's-
it's not.
And
I know
that's
it's
not
not.
what
But I think
put it like
it's
this,
a-
the agent is sitting behind you.
Yeah, I know he is, and
And he can't say anything.
it's very, very difficult for me to approve this with that arrangement on the ground floor.
I must admit, it's I'm picking up that vibe as it happens. Councillor de Bail, due to come back.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. Raised an excellent job.
Oh, can you switch off?
Sorry,
Oh, you have?
is it working now?
Yes, it is.
Bless you.
Don't touch
Raised
it.
an excellent job of presenting it, and in truth, I have no problem with the flats, and I think it's lovely that we're going to get a nice new shop there in the flats. The situation is to do with there is no real rear exit except through a little gate that connects up to Boots car park. And it's the problem for me is getting rid of the waste and again being dumped on the high street, including, well, unless this could be negotiated. So I'm struggling with this. At the moment, I like to think that it could be resolved because I think that the flats per se is not a bad idea, but I do have a problem with this waste thing. Okay.
Yeah. Well, unless somebody's going to put a motion down, I don't know if anybody else wishes to speak. It is recommended for approval. Does anybody wish to put a contrary recommendation? Because I am hearing there is some concerns about it. So if somebody was willing to or going to, Councillor Sweatman?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah,
So I'm going to ask Mr Ashdown to respond to your, if you are going to.
yes, I am. As you know, I'm happy with the development. There's no issues with that. It's just how the recycling and it's coming out onto our shopping centre. I think that's unacceptable. But I don't think, from what I'm told, it's going to have a job to refuse this because it's not a part of the planning issue. Am I correct in that, Steve? With the waste? So I really don't know what to do, to be quite honest. I don't like it. I don't like the application. But, you know, I'd like some advice on how, what we can and can't do on this one, because I think our hands are tied up our back a bit.
I think that's the feeling I think most people in the room are thinking about. There's nothing wrong with the development at all. The concept, it's a windfall, we've got the 75% rule, we've got green roofs, we've got solar panels, we've got everything we could possibly want on this development. Councillor Hitchcock just rightly said, if you're in a hurry, you've got a long train of flipping bins in front of you, and you're going to climb over them to get to the 7 o'clock to London Bridge or wherever they go to, there is an issue. I'm just going to take a sidebar, I think. Or do you want to do it in public?
I'm happy to try and respond. So, you know, clearly I hear, you know, members are on, you know, well, you know, concerned about essentially the waste being on the high street. You know, clearly, you know, you have a proposal in front of you, and our advice would be you need to consider what's in front of you. We know the applicant has no right of access across the rear, and we can't ask them to enter into that negotiation as part of this planning application. So, you know, you have a situation where waste will need to be brought to the front of the property. And, you know, I know the existing premises isn't occupied at this minute in time, but I'm assuming that happens at this minute in time in terms, or would do if it was occupied, in order to remove that commercial waste. You know, really, and Councillor Sweatman sort of touched on it there, in terms of we do not have any planning policies that cover this situation. You know, I've been through the policies, been through the district plan, and I cannot find reference to it. So, you know, in terms of, you know, seeking to refuse the application on this basis, I cannot see that there's a planning reason to do that. Clearly, there is an onus on the developer to ensure that obviously the waste service management in terms of their caretaker is on point. And you're quite right, Councillor Hitchcock, you know, as a resident, you may not be entirely happy meeting the caretaker taking the bins out, but that's something you would be aware of when you purchased a property. So in that regard, it is buyer beware. And I'm pretty sure that residents would be unhappy, and even the commercial occupier would be unhappy if either the bins aren't taken out or the bins are left out, and therefore people can't put their rubbish away. So ultimately, I think it does rest on the caretaker proactively and the overall owner of the property proactively managing that service plan to ensure that the bins are out there for the minimum amount of time, that they're taken out and put in as required. So I hear your concerns, but at this minute in time, I can't find a reason that would either support a refusal or even a deferment, Chairman.
Yeah. Councillor Sweatman, I will in a second, but Councillor Hussain hasn't spoken yet, so I'm going to let him, and then I'll let you speak next. Or do you feel you ought to speak in response to? Can he go first?
Yeah, carry on.
Resolve this issue. Is there any reason why we can't condition how long the bins are going to be out on that pavement and collected? Because my concern is that they're going to be, could be out there for a long time, but are you going to turn around and tell me we can't condition that?
I can answer that one as well. I haven't been the portfolio holder for many years. Lorries have got an annoying habit of breaking down when you don't expect them to. And if you...
with the exceptional circumstances.
But that's what I mean, that's where
you
it
know.
goes into it. But you've got to take into consideration, if we said they can only be out there between X and Y, and for some reason the lorry can't get to it, they're going to be in breach of that condition, and it's a condition that we couldn't enforce. It's so difficult on it, because the bins collection is outside of the remit of this planning committee. We're not happy with that aspect, and I'm sure the agent has listened to our unhappiness about it, but he's the one who's got to discharge the conditions, and they've got to come up with a satisfactory management plan that we feel is able to be put into place. I shall have words with our waste team and find out when they plan to get there. I mean, if they're going to come there first thing in the morning, so which Rachel has intimated they will, before they do other bits and pieces, it's going to be very minimal. But it's the 7 o'clock thing that Councillor Hitchcock mentioned. Yeah, I know. He's coming back as well.
I can't blame you for trying.
Yeah. Councillor Singh first.
Thank you, Chairman. My concern is about fire. If there is a fire, when the bins are moving and all the bins are coming out, and what is the safety of the resident who live there, at the same time? So that is my concern.
The trouble is you're forcing people to come out back into the building if it's on fire, especially if it's at the front.
Yes,
They've
and
got
when
to
the
come
bins are
by.
being taken
Yeah.
at the same time.
I was led to believe they were going to come out and go into the car park. Have I got that one wrong? It's emergencies. It's for emergencies.
There's an emergency access at the rear.
They can get into the car park?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's asked and answered. So, well, good for answering that question.
Okay.
Councillor Hitchcock, I've got, loads of people.
Okay, just one more scenario. What happens if the bins are parked across the bottom of the staircase, the common staircase, and there's a fire?
And they're not put in their yard?
They've come out of there and they're being transferred. You're stuffed.
You're right.
So I think that the planning system should be looking at that.
That's your Google search. What do you reckon?
Safe egress and access.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, building regulations, cover fire. Ultimately, it's going to be the responsibility of the management of that building to ensure the bins are taken in and out at the appropriate time.
And stored.
And stored at the appropriate time.
But I think Councillor Hitchcock got a very valid point. If they're perhaps he's bringing two through, if he's that good, and he's putting one in and the alarms go off and people decide to get out, it's you're trying to put too many things down a little small corridor. And That is building regs though, isn't it? Oh, Rachel, go on, please, get us out of this jail.
I just wanted to make the point that because there will be a service management plan and it has to work between the residents and the movement of the bins, probably the sensible idea would be that they only move a few bins at a time. They're not going to be have a whole stream of bins moving down the corridor
like
at any
Sainsbury's
one
do.
time to block the access, because that wouldn't make sense. And also the waste contracts monitoring officer said there has to be a certain amount of space either side of the bins in order for the bins to move freely. Therefore, if you've got that space either side of the bin and you push the bin to one side, from a practical point of view, you'd be able to get past the bin because the size of the bin has been accepted by the waste monitoring officer as being acceptable for the size of the hall. It's just my practical thought. I thought I would put that forward.
I don't think anybody's asked this, how wide is that corridor? Because I know what a 360 litre bin is about that big.
So I did measure.
Oh, well done.
I did measure the hallway, but I haven't made a note of it, and I think, from memory, it was about 1.1. That's not looking, but yeah.
So 4 foot.
It's no more than that, at that scale.
And the bin's about
But that was
2 feet.
about 2 feet wide, aren't they?
600, yeah.
I have got the measurement of the bins. Just see where height, width. So the bins are 850 millimetre, 0.85 of a metre wide.
So just about 2 foot, 2 foot 3, 2 foot 4, is that about right? 2 foot 6, about 2 foot 6.
By 0.7.
I'm not worried about the depth, I'm worried about the width.
You've got that dimension is for the handle one. The across the bin is about 600.
Yeah.
They're deeper on the handles.
Mr Ashdown, please, help us.
Well, I'm just slightly concerned we might be going down a bit of a rabbit hole here in terms of looking at various things when, you know, in terms of, you know, I know, I appreciate members' of concerns essentially of bins being out on the high street, which is, you know, which is the main issue, and there is a way of that is managed, but that will be the responsibility of essentially the management company of the building. You know, where we're talking about whether something is being blocked by a bin, well, you know, the corridor could be blocked by a delivery from one of the residents. You know, essentially, you know, you have to look what's in front of you and what in planning we can actually take into account. And I appreciate the concerns, but ultimately, you know, as we set out in the report, you know, there are many pluses to this development. You know, the downside, and the downside is, yes, there will be bins out on the high street for a period of time while collection is being made.
Yeah.
But that does not outweigh all of the other benefits that come with the development. It's not ideal. I appreciate it's not ideal, but they do not outweigh all the other benefits.
Yeah, we've got to weigh up all the pluses and minuses. Do you want to come back, Councillor Hitchcock? Okay, could you just, thank you. Councillor Casella, because you haven't spoken yet.
I was just going to say, what happens?
No, leave it, that's it.
What happens for the rest of the shops down that street on bin collection day? I assume everybody has the same problem. So there must be other bins. It won't just be that shop that has its bins out the front. I assume other shops must have the same situation.
I don't know. I'll defer to the two ward councillors or ward councillor. But yes, good question.
Yeah.
It's as Mr Ashdown said, it's not really a plan in.
No, we have gone down a rabbit hole.
We have. Councillor de Velde.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come back, Mr Chairman. I think that basically, as we're talking about, we really want to
you press it? You switched it off again.
Sorry, guys. We really do want, as the officers told us, we really do want to pass this for all the good reasons. And I think that Councillor Casal has made a very good point. What happens with the other bins is a similar sort of thing. I think that the gentleman's heard what we've said. I think that we've got to have an element of trust, possibly, in this. And the outweigh of the benefits of it could drive this being sorted out on the ground floor, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think we've basically got to trust that that will be the case. And on that basis, with the terrific presentation that Rachel's made and the way that we've looked at it and tossed it around and decided that the balance is basically for, and the gentleman has heard what we've said about this needing to be resolved. Maybe he needs to talk to Boots and get an entrance in somewhere like that. I would propose this original motion for acceptance.
I've just got one member wishes to speak,
Absolutely.
and then we'll go to...
I will second that proposal.
Okay, well, that's very quick. Right, we have a motion to propose and a seconder. It is recommended that planning permission be granted subject to the completion of a Section 106 legal agreement to secure the infrastructure contributions, including the review formula, relevant build costs, gross development value, GDV, to assess market value and affordable housing viability at the time of the build and conditions set in Appendix A. And there's a recommendation B, basically, if we have not signed a planning obligation by the 11th of September this year, planning permission will be refused in discretion with the divisional lead. So, green to go, red if you don't like it. Right, I've got 8 in favour, 2 against. This is approved. I just hope the building regulations are definitely on board on that one.
Thank you, Rachel.
Oh, no, there's 10 of them. Oh, yeah, somebody, time out. Do apologise. Well, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference, but somebody hasn't voted. Can I just ask you to do it again, please? Green, if you support it. And one person hasn't voted. Please don't let that be me. 9-2. It wasn't me. So this has been approved. Rachel, well done. That was a really difficult one. Thank you. And we've got...
Bancroft Drive next.
Yeah, you're going to... Oh, there he is. They are queuing up. I don't think we had anywhere to go on that. Did we? We didn't have nowhere to go on that. I feel uncomfortable.
It's a condition that they put the bins out at 7, take them out at 9. If they're collected, if they're not.
And they'll argue that our normal regulations are they have to put it back out the next day for follow-ups. It's a booger.
It's not a planning thing, is it?
No, it's not. Are you ready? Right, item 7, this is DM 241103, 26 Bancroft Drive, Linfield, Hayward Heath. This is Andy's. The only reason it's here, it's the house of Assistant Director of our authority. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairman.
You've not pressed, I see you are now.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. The application site is located within a residential estate, which dates from 2009. It's within the built-up area of Linfield, and the site refers to a detached dwelling, and the application is for a single-storey rear extension. The floor layout is shown here to the front of the property, and there's an integral garage to the side and a 2-storey projection at the rear. And in elevation, this is what the rear elevation looks like, with the garage to the right and a gabled two-storey projection at the rear. And the proposal is to extend the property beyond the garage by 4 metres and 2.4 metres beyond the two-storey extension, and it will be 6.5 metres in width. And it will have 2 forms of roofs, one of which will have a roof light, 2 roof lights to it. And this is what it will look like. You have a crown roof on this part, and a dual pitch roof rising to 4.3 metres in height. And just for members' benefit, because it's 4.3 metres, it just exceeds the permitted development criteria for such an extension. And it will be built of matching materials to the main house. So just to show you some photos, this is the rear elevation looking straight on, and the extension will be sited along this wall and the back of the garage. And this is the relationship between the house to both its neighbours, and you can sort of see from both of them that the houses, the neighbouring houses wrap around, reflecting the estate road layout. And the nearest buildings to the site are garages, a double garage here, a panel, 1.8 metre high panel fence on that boundary, and a 1.8 metre high panel fence on the other side, and a single garage closest to the application site. So the application is recommended for approval on the basis that it is not considered, it's considered modest in scale and appropriate in design to the main building, and does not have any adverse impact on neighbouring residents. So the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Andy. There've been no representations. Councillor Kenny, do you wish to propose, or do you wish to say anything?
Not particularly, no. I mean, it strikes me that this is only here because we've got an employee of the council making the application. It only just exceeds the criteria it requires planning permission. There's been no objection. It seems very straightforward, and but for the fact it's an employee of the council, I don't think we'd be sitting here. It's not something that's going to be controversial. I'm quite happy to propose it.
Councillor Kenny, do you wish to second it? Yeah. All right, as always, if you agree with it, green. If you don't, red. If you're abstaining. Yeah, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andy. Very short and sweet. Thank you. And the next one, Anna's here. They're just going to do a quick swap. Right. Thank you. Right, this is item 8, which is Hickman's Lane Pavilion. It's DM 241161. Again, the only reason it is here, well, members should all remember this one because we gave permission not so long ago. Yeah. Literally not so long ago. And we own it. Anna.
Thank you, Chairman.
So the update sheet, if members have seen that, have a couple of items on it. One is that the West Sussex County Highways have raised no objection to the variation. They have no transport grounds to resist, and Linfield Parish Council also have no objections, subject to the tree officer's concerns being addressed. The tree officer's recommendation being that there's a condition number 7, which is at the end of the report. So this is the site, we'll recall it well. The siting of the pavilion is in red, in the middle of the recreation ground, which is laid out to pitches at different times of the year, football and cricket. The site of the actual extension is in solid red here at the southern end of the building. This slide shows the layout of the site. We have the car parking area off Hickman's Lane, the entrance being to the building in the northern end of the building, and the proposed extension here on the southern end, currently partly in use for the play area for external, for the nursery use. So these are the existing elevations of the building. It's a very simple building with a gabled roof, constructed in brick with a tile roof. And this is the current layout of the building. It has one big social area in the middle, changing rooms, toilets, and a small kitchen and stores in it. So in September last year, the members approved this extension, and essentially what we have before us now is pretty much the same extension in terms of form relative to the rest of the building. And this was the layout that was approved back in September to add this extension with a social area, stores, toilets and so on, and a new kitchen to serve that new area. At that time, the changing rooms were pretty much to be retained as they currently stand. So this is the extension again, as we have it now, but with some additional doors and a slight change within the floor area to take in some new, larger changing rooms within the existing building, to add some external planters, slightly reduce the link between the new and old, and some slightly different roof lights, and then amendments to the actual layout internally, but not significant. So this is the building as it stands today, and there's a children's play area, external area at this end. This is where the extension will be built at that southern end. This is the approach from the northern end. This is the southern end as it stands. And the recommendation is that this is approved. Thank you, Chairman.
Or I think almost exactly the same word for word. If you want to propose it, you can.
Recommend approval unless the Vice Chairman wishes to take that role, and I'll second it.
Want to propose it?
Well, I'm happy to propose it, but you're very welcome to,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Sweatman.
I'll propose this recommendation.
Councillor Cherry, you wish to say anything?
Yes. Yes, I just have a slight concern about the changing room changes from 4 to 2.
Have you seen the size of it? Much bigger.
Yes, yes, so it's not the size that I'm going to be talking, that's worrying me. Presumably there are a lot of different sports clubs, cricket, football, and there will be male teams and female teams and also junior teams. And I'm a bit concerned that 2 large changing rooms is not going to be quite so convenient if you've got a mixture of you know, a male team there, female team there, and some juniors. We've only got 2 large changing rooms. I'm just slightly worried that that's a little bit prohibitive.
We've only got one football pitch on that site and one cricket pitch, if I remember rightly. Is that correct?
Is it? I don't know the geography of it, but...
Is it 2? I know there's a junior
Let's go back
pitch.
on the plans.
Play cricket and football.
You don't play cricket and football at the same time. That
so-
is mainly the cricket there.
This side is the cricket at the
Yeah.
moment, this time
So
of
it's got
year.
football laid out as well. So technically you could have six teams there.
Possibly.
But that's what we've got in front of us. So,
So
and
in terms of the, sorry, Chairman,
Yeah, go on.
just to interrupt, but in terms of the changing rooms, we've got, this is an internal change.
Yes.
So really, it's something that we may not have that much control over in terms of dealing with this application, but it is shown on the plans nevertheless. There is also another changing room area over here with a shower and toilet within the extension. So it's a smaller one, but there is provision there. So we have in total the two larger ones, which I suppose would be perhaps team ones, and then there is a provision for another one over on that side, which also has disabled toilet access easily from that one.
I think that it will be down to the hiring of the, they know what's there. It's obviously we've done a lot of work to come to this stage from what we were before. So, and it's our own officer, Paul Williams, who's come up with this. So, I assume it's acceptable for the council. So, I know what you're going to ask, Councillor Henwood, because you're going to ask exactly the same question you did last time. Where's the solar panels?
Can I ask my question?
Go on then.
Okay, it's very disappointing that they investigated the use. I mean, with modern technology today, I'm sure there are ways to provide photovoltaics that would not be struck by cricket balls or wild football balls. So it's very disappointing that more effort hasn't been gone into providing just photovoltaics. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Perhaps you might want to take it up with your portfolio holder. Amongst other things. Yeah, but we can only deal with what we've got in front of us. Councillor Hitchcock.
I just asked the question, I assume that the changing rooms fully comply with the FA's requirement for senior football.
Yeah, I assume that small one is the referees one.
Referees one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably
It
where-
looks as though they do.
Yeah, so then it does comply.
Yeah.
You should know because you do the Crawley Down one. Yeah, so I assume that's why they got a separate area for that. I have a proposer and I have a seconder, so can we, unless anybody else wishes to speak, can you vote accordingly, please? Yeah, 11-0, to coin a phrase. So 11 for it, 0 against it. So it's approved. Right. Item 9, which is recommended for refusal, has been withdrawn after consultation with myself and my vice chairman. And so we'll go back to the agenda again. Item 10 is other matters. Question pursuant to Council Rule Procedure 10.2A. Due notice which has been given. I have none. I'll close the meeting at whatever time it is, because that's not the right time. 17:42. 5:40.